Wayna. How are you?
How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
That's good. We're so glad to have you here in Chicago.
My pleasure. Thank you for taking some time to talk with me.
And thank you for doing the same. So let's talk about your project. You're here promoting the Expats.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Where did it come from?
Sure. So the Expats is my third album, and it is really, it started as an experiment. I had been known for doing hip hop soul, and I really wanted with this project to do something different and daring and really authentic. And for me, that meant like looking at myself as a person, as an artist, and asking myself a very penetrating question: who are you, and what is the story that only you can tell? And that took me on a very long journey. And that journey ended in Toronto, where I met these group of musicians who were similar to me in that they were all international people. So I'm originally from Ethiopia, and I grew up in DC, or just outside of DC, but I hadn't, even though elements of my culture had been infused in my music lyrically, in terms of music, it was pretty much straight hip hop soul. And that was the piece that I found was really missing, that I felt like who I am, the entirety of who I am, was not included in the music. So I wanted to have an international presence. I wanted you to feel that I was from Africa when you listened to the record. I wanted you to know that I, grew up around West Indians. I married a West Indian. I went to school with West Indians. That I love Bob Marley. That I went to a predominantly white school where my favorite band when I was in elementary school was The Police and U2 and Cyndi Lauper, and these are parts of me that hadn't found a voice in my work. So it was a process for me to try to find a way to infuse those sounds in what I was doing in a way that was really authentic. So that's what led me to Toronto, and I met these guys who were cats who just were, like, Toronto's the most amazing international city, and people just really interact, and they know each other's cultures, they have respect for each other's cultures. And in the music scene, it was really evident because the musicians were able to play all kinds of different cultural sounds really authentically. So we just got in a room together and we jammed. And the guys were from all over the world: Germany, Japan, Israel, Uganda, Eritrea, India, Jamaica. Wow. So it's just like all these sounds just kind of came out, and even though we were from different places, we found that we had similar tastes, we had similar likes. We all love Bob Marley, we all love Radiohead, we all love Fela, and those things kind of came in the music. So it was a process of just experimenting and finding something that felt for the first time in my career as being unique and really me. So that's where the Expats came from, and I'm so happy that it's like a tangible thing now and that I can share it with people.
Was that a risk for you to make such a huge change? Because it did. When I first played the new project, the Expats, I was surprised, but pleasantly so, because your voice itself is extremely unique. The tones and the quality of the music, it was so different. So were you afraid to change?
Definitely. In fact, I had a moment where I almost ran for the hills because it's like one of those. It's funny how the universe will always test you with something and show you how weak or strong you are on a conviction. And I had this like pretty big A&R person come to me early before I had released the album and listen to it and basically tell me that I had made a huge, mistake, and that, they wanted another My Love, and that they wanted something that could get on urban radio, and all of the things that, I had been like moving away from and growing, in a completely different direction. And it really kind of made me, it shook my faith, and it really made me ask myself, like, do I really believe in this? And am I ready to really, I had already invested time and money and everything into this new direction, so that risk was already taken, but then sharing it with the world and saying, okay, so this is actually me, this is more of me that you can get to know, was scary, but I needed that to kind of make sure that I, got it, that I was ready for what might come. And I recognize that for some people, they may not, they're gonna want, elements of traditional hip hop. So for hip hop soul heads, purists, they may not embrace the entire album. There are some songs that are, very similar to what we did previously. But, to me, soul music, and that's part of why I gravitated to it, even though, I'm an international person, is about authenticity and passion and emotion and just life. And those things are in this. So if you're a soul lover, I don't see why it wouldn't speak to you. I don't see why it wouldn't speak to you.
I agree, because to me the term soul music, I know it has a very specific sound, but it comes from your soul.
Right.
So if you're putting your soul into the music, then it is classified as soul music. As an artist, what about that challenge because a lot of the music does sound exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you master that challenge of sounding marketable, but at the same time just being you?
Right. See, I think the way to do that is to just develop your skill as a songwriter, because to me, being marketable means being able to appeal to people, because people are the consumers. They're the end judge of what you're giving. It's not some guy in an office or a radio programmer or a label. The person that you're trying to convince is the buyer. And the buyer, if you really listen to them, if you look at them, they'll tell you what they like and why they like it and what they don't like. So I really studied, audiences. I studied my listeners. When I would perform a new song, I could feel when they were getting it and when they weren't. And it really made me take an honest look at my songwriting and my production and all the ways in which I could do better for them.
Mm-hmm.
And once, to me, once the product is strong, if it's a great song and it's recorded well and it's mixed well and it's presented thoroughly, all the musicians know it and we're in it and we put on a show, people will get it. So I think the business side of that is, I don't think you get to that end by looking at it through the business. I think you go to the source, the consumer, and then you ask, what do they want?
Right, I totally agree with that. Okay, for this project, expectations are very high. Wayna is the person to watch.
Yes.
So, especially coming off of a Grammy nomination.
Right.
So does that make you feel like, oh yeah, I got this? Or, oh my God, I can't fail? Which, or is it somewhere in between? What does that do to you?
I think it's probably both, but the great thing about the Grammy nom was that I got it as an independent artist, and I got it doing a song that I conceived and co-produced. So it gave me confidence in my instincts, because I knew that if I followed them, that I would be rewarded. So, and then the other aspect of that is that if you are rewarded, or if it ends up not working, then you've still learned a huge lesson. And I pretty much, I felt both of those feelings, and I just tried to give myself permission to learn. And that I wanted it to be great and I wanted it to be successful, but at the same time, I can't control how people receive it. The only thing I can do is put every drop of everything I have into it, and then hope that I've hit a chord. And if I have, then I know it will come. And if I haven't, then I've obviously learned something by doing it, the way I envisioned, So that was what got me through. I just said I definitely wanted to go to a new level with every aspect of it, the writing, the recording, every part of it. I wanted it to be better, and I feel like that did push me. It pushed me to work even harder. So, I think overall it was good. The Grammy nom gave me more confidence than fear.
What does that feel like? Just to, first of all, to get the nomination and to be at the Grammys. What feeling is that?
It's amazing.
The holiday season in Chicago is truly the most wonderful time of the year. The illuminated Magnificent Mile, world-class shopping and dining, and festive events in Chicago's front yard along the lake all make this the happiest season of all. DeWitt Place puts you in the center of it all. Set in the perfect location, holiday magic is literally steps away. Accommodations include a full kitchen and separate dining areas, fitness facilities, and a professional and friendly staff to meet your every need. Whether you're traveling to Chicago for the holidays or planning a family staycation, DeWitt Place is the place to stay. Call DeWitt Place at 312-642-7020 to inquire about special holiday offers. That's DeWitt Place, 312-642-7020. DeWitt Place is your holiday place to stay.
Just to, first of all, to get the nomination and to be at the Grammys. What feeling is that?
It's amazing. It's amazing. And let me tell you what's the most amazing part is that, I went to the Grammys the year before I was nominated. And because I joined the Academy and I bought myself a ticket and went out there because I said, I just want a vision. I just want the vision of where I want to be because I know if I see it, I can make it happen.
Right.
So I was there with another great artist, Yazra, and we had like seats in the nosebleeds. We were really up high and just watching everything. I could barely even see what was going on. But I took a moment and at the end of the show and just like looked at the audience, just looked at the crowd, and I was like, I want to be here. I want to be here, and I want an invitation to be here. And that feeling was like, I remember just the way it made my heart skip, like how special it was to be amongst all those talented, successful people, and then to feel like I had earned a place there, and that I deserved to be there. I needed to tell myself that, and. So I think the sweetest part about that success was, not just what it meant to the industry or to people, to the world, but what it meant to me to just have had that vision before anyone else did, and then in a time when getting recognized as an independent artist, most people wouldn't think that's even possible. In fact, I had somebody tell me, Christmas does not come early. Christmas will not come early this year. Do not put your hopes on this. And it just showed me like, you cannot ever put a limit on what you think can happen. I mean, all it takes to make something happen is a vision for it and the faith for it and then working for it. And there's, probability doesn't mean anything. In fact, most of the time when amazing things happen, they happen to people who you wouldn't think they would happen to. I mean, that's almost how the magnitude of it is shown, because it's unlikely. Because I'm not like a 12-year-old country singing blonde. So I mean, why would success happen for me at this stage of my life, or after having a whole other career, or being a mom? I mean, all the other things that people would say, that's not likely.
Right.
Is when you step out and you do those things and then amazing things happen, and you realize that it's not the person, it's not the talent, it's not the opportunity, it's more the spirit of the. It's the bravery, it's the willingness to try that makes those things happen.
Right. And you stepped right into my next question. Was, did you see it coming? Were you able to visualize yourself, your name for a nomination, and how critical that was in it actually happening for you?
Yes. I won't even pretend. Yes, I dreamt it.
Do you see taking that Grammy home?
I do. I'm working on that one. I realize that, every dream you have, like those voices in your head that say, that can't happen. So I am constantly working on opening myself up to that reality and a whole host of other blessings that I think are in store for me if I just allow them. And I know that it's just about my mind opening up to allowing it in, because everything else, I've done the work, we've done the work. So I know the product itself, I believe in. And now it's just a matter of the spirit around it, and really just allowing all the blessings to come. So yes, I'm envisioning that, and I have a vision board. I don't know if you have one.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it works, and I have a picture of myself holding 3 Grammys on my vision board. So we'll see.
One more question. I'm listening to you, and we talked about the hip hop and the soul music, and then we talked about you being an international artist with an international background. A lot of soul hip hop music or artists don't have that background.
Yeah.
So does your international background, do you think it gives you an edge, or do you think it presents a challenge for you to excel in the industry?
I think of it as an edge just because it's, first of all, hip-hop and soul is really rooted in African music.
Right.
And I realized that the first time I went to this festival in Ethiopia, this rural festival called the Festival of 1,000 Lights. It's in this area of northern Ethiopia called Arnamnj. And there were these people, these tribes that live in that area and who had never been exposed to any kind of Western music whatsoever. And they would just come and perform with their own indigenous instruments, with their own clothes. Everything was specific to their lifestyle. And these guys were playing what to me sounded like hip hop and jazz and soul. I heard it. I could hear it in the complexity of the rhythms, the melodies, the counter melodies, the intricacy of it. It was orchestral. It was, sophisticated. It was classical. And I really got how, this music, and they weren't imitating us, and we're not imitating them, because there are a lot of hip-hop artists who've never heard, who've never studied, certain types of African music, and yet it's just in them, it just comes out. So there is that connection, whether people are conscious of it or not, it's there. So I think, though, the problem is that because there's just been so many stereotypes about Africa, and there's just ignorance about, just the cultures in general. So, I had one of my favorite producers, I won't say who, but one of my favorite producers, came into my studio one time and saw a traditional Ethiopian karar, which is like a guitar, and he was like, "What's that?" Like halfway, horrified by it. Like it was just this foreign thing to him. And I thought, that's sad. This guy's a genius, and he can't necessarily open himself up to something just because, or maybe he can, but there's just a resistance because it's just different from the world he's comfortable with. So I think of it as a challenge to me to try to, to basically open people's minds by saying, listen to this. Like once you listen to it, you see the beauty in it. You see how it relates to what even you're doing. And most music people will get it. Like if they just try, they'll get it. And you'll hear, some of the most successful hip hop artists today, like Questlove, for example, is obviously he's a fela, huge like champion of Afrobeat and all kinds of international music. And it's not, it's a growing thing that I think people are opening themselves up to. So I think the fact that that's my cultural background is going to help me be an ambassador and to just help those two worlds, or 3 or 4, however many, come together.
So then you feel that responsibility to educate and just enlighten everybody with the similarities in the music. That's awesome.
Sure, and be educated too, because I'm learning, a lot about, still hip hop and soul. These guys are handing me old records that were like big that, I'm hearing for the first time, something later. Wow. So, I appreciate being a student and teaching at, all at the same time.
Okay, so tell everybody, my favorite track is Echo.
Nice.
It just went there, and I think when you were talking about musicians getting it, your audience is going to get it as well. There's music, there's songs that communicate and that hits that experience or where your heart is at that time. And so Echo did that for me.
Oh, that's great.
So tell everybody how to get a hold of your projects
sure.
how to find you, how to follow you, how to support you.
Yes, okay, so the album is available on iTunes, and it's called The Expats. My name is Wayna, W-A-Y-N-A. I'm on Twitter, Wayna Music, W-A-Y-N-A Music. On Facebook, Wayna Music again, W-A-Y-N-A Music. And on Instagram, also W-A-Y-N-A Music. So it's really easy to find. So, definitely come like me on Facebook, follow me, and send me an email. I always respond and want to keep in touch with folks who, love music and, want to learn more and hear more.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Wayna.
Val.